Yeah, welcome back to my class again today. Yes, if you like the previous classes that you've watched, please do not forget to click on the like button in this class and also help to share this video. If you give me feedback through the comment section, it will really help the algorithm to push this video forward. So please do not forget to write your comment anyhow you feel, right? About this lecture, just let me know in the comment section so that I can actually get that as a feedback and use that to improve on my lecture. Now, in the class today, I told you I was going to teach you class method in 3 parts. So I've actually given you the first 2 parts. And then today I'm going to show you how you use a class method as a constructor instead of the init method. So without wasting much time, let's just get right in. Now we are using class method uh, constructor, right? You're using the class method as a constructor. Now, in the normal program that we write, what does this job is actually the init method. So we are going to write, and then we will see that. We'll say class, right? And then we'll say man. Then in this place, we'll say apple, and then we assign to it. So we are creating a class variable, right? That's what we are doing. We are creating a class variable. And then we'll now define init, and then we'll say define, and then we'll supply self, then we'll supply name, then we'll do this. So we'll come here and we'll say self dot name, and then we'll assign the name to it, right? So we've done this here. Then we increment this by saying man dot apple. We increment this by 1. So we have done that. Now we have created our class. Now we want to create the class method, right? We'll create another class method here. So to achieve that, we'll use the decorator. So first, we'll now define this uh, class method, and then we'll come here and we'll say def define. So what are we going to show here? We want to show the count of this apple, right? We'll call it count underscore apple. That is our method name. Okay. Since it's a class method, this is a class method. So what we are going to do here is what? Count apple. So this one will give us CLS because this is a class method. So this is going to reference the class and not the instance, right? So inside this count method, we'll just simply say print, right? We'll say print, and then we'll call this CLS dot apple. That is just what we want to print out inside this method. And then we'll now say return. Okay, so this is our class that we have created. So this is instance method. This is a class method. But I want to create another class method where I'm going to use that class method as a constructor. So I will simply come here again. Now, this place. So I'm coming back here, right? Instead of this, because I don't think you'll be able to sit down. So from here, I'm just going to come here. Then I'll do this, right? Then I'll write class method again. So this is another class method that I want to define now. So I'll say define, right? Now, let's call this new object, right? New object. And then inside this new object is going to reference class. That's the first thing I'm going to give to it. And then name, right? Okay, so what I'm doing is that I want to use this class method as a constructor. So I am supplying two parameters to it, which is what? Reference class. This one is L. Reference CLS name. And then I'll come here. I'll say return. Then I'll call the class. Then I'll supply name into it. So what am I doing? Inside this method is this. So when I define this method, and then I'm supplying two parameters to it, which is what? CLS and name. And then I will come in and I'll say return CLS name. So I'm calling the class and I'm asking it to return the name. So this is what I have created. Now, I want to instantiate this class. So the first thing I will do is object one. What did I put here? New object. Okay, so I'll say object one. So I'll say object. In this one, I am going to say, which is what? Man. And I'll supply Adam to it. Now, what happens here? The moment I create this object, this man will be given to self. This Adam will be given to name. And then it will come here, it will become object.name. So through this dot notation, I'm going to access this attribute, which is a variable for the instance. And then I will assign this name to it. This variable that is coming in, I will assign it to this. So that will now be object.name equals to what? That is assigned what? Adam. Then I will come here and I will use this class to access this class variable and increment it, increase it to what? 1. So it will increase to 1. That is what I have done. Then this is a class method that I've created. So this class method is what? Count apple. It will now come in here and then it will say print cls.apple. So what is the value of this apple is what it's going to return, right? Okay, now we'll come back to this place. Still, this one is under this place directly. So I'm creating another object, which is what? New object as my method. This new object as a method is expecting two parameters, which is what? CLS and name. Just like this constructor expecting self and name. This one is expecting class and name, right? Then I will come in and say return CLS name. Good. So now, then I instantiate this class by creating the first object. So this one will have this apple will change to what? To 1. Now I want to create if. So in creating if, I'm not going to use the same method. Before, I will have just said object 1, right? This object. So this object 1. So I will have just said object 1. Then I will call this class man, and then I will say if, right? This is what I will have done. But I don't want to create it this way. I don't want to instantiate the class by creating the object in this manner. What I want to do is that here I am going to say object 1, right? Then I will call the class man, right? I will go inside the class. Then I will call this method new object is underscore object. Then I will supply CLS, which is this one, and then I will supply if, which is this one. This is what I have done, right? Now, when I now come here and I say man dot this method count apple, count underscore apple, what will it give me? So when I call this man dot count apple, it's going to give me 2. So when I call this man dot count apple, which is this class is man, and then I'm calling this method, which is count apple. So this one will come in here and then it will show us. But how come it's showing us 2? It's showing us 2 because at the time in which I created this object by calling this class method, what it actually did was what? Behind the scene, It came to this place and activated this init method. So like I told you we have object-oriented programming and then we have procedural. Procedural did not disappear. It went behind the scene. It's just like saying New Testament and the Old Testament. Now, the New Testament did not eradicate the Old Testament. The New Testament is making it look user-friendly for you. But behind the scene, what is still applicable is what? Is the Old Testament behind the scene, right? He said, I didn't come to abolish the law, but I came to fulfill it. So at the front end, it looks as if the back end has disappeared. No, you are calling this new object, which is a class method, using it as a constructor, right? But behind the scene, this one is still going to come and call this. So when he's calling this, he's going to use this CLS. He's going to replace this self with this CLS, which is the class, and he's going to replace this name with the if, right? Then it will go in, and then this place will become cls.name, which will become what? If, and it will still increment this. So behind the scene, even though you are calling this, it is still this one that is going to execute. That was why it increased this to 2. So when you are now saying man.count apple, which is what you are calling this method, man.count apple, is going into to print cls.apple, which is the variable of the class. What is inside is going to be what? 2. That's what you will get. So that is what I want to show you in this class, using a class method as a constructor. But behind the scene, it is still this init method that is going to operate. So let's go to the PyCharm and let me quickly demonstrate to you. And then you see this output, how it's going to come, where it's going to give us 2. You know, like they said, the Bereans were of more noble character than the Thessalonians. They were always going back to check to see if what Paul preached are correct. Now, how do they do the checking? This is it. I'm going to go to the PyCharm to do the checking to see if what I have demonstrated on this board is true or not. So if you like this video, do not forget to click on the like button. And if you have not followed me on my Facebook, please don't hesitate to do that. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, don't also hesitate to subscribe. This is how you will encourage me, and this is how you will help me. So let's go to the PyCharm. So these are PyCharm. Let's test and see if what we preached on the board is true. All right. So, okay, we still have our class method here. Okay, let's not use this one. Let's call it, give it a new one, file. Let's call it constructor, right? .py. Okay, so class man, and then we say apple, assign 0 to it. We declare a class variable, and then we say define underscore init underscore self, comma, and we give name to it. Then we come here and we say self.name. Then we assign name to it. And then we come here and we say man.apple. We increment it by 1. Okay. Now we create the class method by doing this. Class method. Then we say define count underscore apple. Then we come here and we say print cls dot apple, right? And then we'll say return. Okay, then we come here and we create another class again, class method. In this one, define new object. Define new underscore object. New underscore object. So this one will be class and then name, right? Then we'll say return. We'll call the class name. we have created our class and we have defined three methods. The first one is the init method. The second one is the count apple method, which is also a class method, and then another class method which is going to be used to create a new object. Okay, so now let's instantiate. If I say man dot count underscore apple function, if I run this, it's going to give me 0. You see, 0, meaning it's calling this. So I'm calling this class method directly using the class to access it without instantiating. So it's giving me the apple as what? 0. Now I'm going to instantiate. So I will say object, and then I will say man, and I will supply the first name to it, Adam. Then the second object, I will say object 1, and I will say man dot, I'll call new underscore object, right? That method. Then I'm going to supply name to it, which is if. All right. Then I will now come back here and call this again. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to instantiate the class. So how many objects? Now this one, I'm just calling man.object. So man, which is the class, dot this class method directly. And I'm supplying this name to it, which is the one parameter. So it's going to return class name. Now I am going to find out how many times this apple has increased by calling this count apple, which is this one, count apple method. So cls.apple is going to tell me how many apple we now have inside. So when I execute this, it will give me 2. Why? Because you instantiated this, but how come this one increased? That is because at the back end, this call, right, is still going to call this method, but it's going to replace this self with CLS, and it's going to replace this name with if. That is why it still came to do what? Because this is inside this init method. It's still going to increase this one by 2. So that is why calling it at this point now is showing you the output to be what? To be 2. So that is all. So that's what I want to show you. So what we preached on the board is correct by using this PyCharm to test it, just like the variance. So this is all I want to show you in the class method. So in the next class, I'll probably show you static method, and we'll move on from there because I want to explain to you all the component parts of the class. If you like this class, do not forget to click on the like button. So till we see in the next class, bye-bye.